No lo ves. Somos amigos, ¿recuerdas? Tranquilo, Rinty. Eso está mejor. Rinty, no me asustes. Estoy en...
Well, waves or ripples? Yes, ripples, of course, small waves that we know of on a pond. We throw a little pebble in the pond and we get little waves come and they hit all the shores around in a complete circle, as you can see here, perfect circle from where the rock is dropped. Now, if you sort of think about the micro world to the macro world, would you imagine that when you do throw a rock into a lake or a dam and you get this ripple effect, if that dam was curved, would you get the same even effect? Because that's what you believe if you believe the world is curved, because everything has a slight curve. Or do you think the look of ripples on still water is just way too perfect for something that's curving away from itself, as it were? But of course, it's impossible to model this. I mean, if we could perfectly model this, you could prove one way or another forever whether the world was curved or round. But how do you model curved water? It might be a computer program somebody might be able to work out to model this. But just looking at, I mean, it is a big problem for the idea of a curve. The complete even nature of ripples. And a good place to look at the idea of the ripple effect, the evenness of ripples, are the waves on the east coast of Australia. You don't get many waves on this part of the coastline because of the Great Barrier Reef here. But from Fraser Island all the way down to below where it says Canberra here, you get very even waves on any particular day, often the same size all the way. Often there's a small variance because the waves are simply bigger in the south and then they taper off as they go north. And sometimes a bit of the reverse is true, where there's a swell coming from the north and it tapers off by the time it gets south. But there are many days with even conditions and the waves are totally the same all the way up and down the coast. Now here's a beach in Queensland on the Sunshine Coast of Australia. This is this morning. You can see this easterly and the type of waves that are breaking here. Well, hello, here's 1,000 miles away from the first cam, and look what we have here. The same waves. Same exact waves. I mean, this can only happen on a flat surface. Same day, 1,000 miles apart, the same sort of swell and waves. There you go, look. Queensland, Sydney. Same. There you go, folks. Sydney all the way to there. Same as I said about these cliffs. You can go and watch my video on Nuke channel about the cliffs. So these stratas in the cliffs of the Great Australian Bight. I also talk about this island up here, totally built of sand, totally laid down flat, Fraser Island. I think what you just saw there with the surf, you just couldn't get this, if water was curved. Yes, as I said, it's pretty impossible to model this down, except maybe in a micro sense with the most fine equipment we might be able to do is with a water droplet as against the flat surface of water to test this out. But I think you know this is what's going to happen anyway. On your flat surface, waves go away very even, as I've depicted here. But if you actually could have a curved surface, the first wave would be an even idea, but then more and more the waves would peak higher and down, got a bit low there, like this. If it's going away from here, the energy would be dispersed into the atmosphere. It would create waves in the air that you couldn't see, push into the air. The waves that peak higher quicker. It wouldn't go off in this even sense, so that you wouldn't get the evenness of surf like you're seeing here for miles and miles on the coastline. But it is a bit hard to model it, but I think a few people might look at this and be able to really pull this apart and make even a better video than I've done here with just thinking about it. Maybe some computer modelling that if somebody was good with graphics here, they might be able to just do what I've done there on paint in a better fashion and show this phenomenon. There was one video done by a guy called Dave Johnson on CERN. He had CERN running. This is something that somebody that's good like that with computers might be able to trick up and model. That's certainly what you get on the even, flat ocean that we have, completely even. And you see I showed a thing called the Great Australian Bight. Let's just look at that again quickly. See, the same thing goes with this. All the length of this, which is several thousand miles, and on a given day the waves will be exactly the same the whole way along. You can see here it is here, like a big bight. Imagine from this point, you just got these waves coming in. I mean, on a ball earth, this from here to here, there'd be so much curvature that the waves should be different. No, they're the same. Breaking along that very same flat. You can see this white layer. It's going, do you think it bends every now and again? Do you think all this cliff bends to fit the bent water? Or do you think it possibly just could be flat? You can see from this image here, just going off into the horizon. And look how such a big cliff quickly becomes a very small thing. It's just the way distance and how our vision is. And you can see that flatness there, can't you? Also, we can see the way waves bend into places. Look here, this reef, you see the swell might be coming this way by the look of it to me, and it's having to wrap. It's what's smaller here. The swells wrap around places. And what they do when observed miles apart, and they're doing the same thing in given inlets. This world is in the ocean, of course, full of waves, full of swell, all even for miles. And look how perfect this is here. Just wouldn't happen on a ball earth. The same anyway. Yes, look at the perfect nature of bore waves in rivers. Go for miles. I mean, if this is curved just so slightly, this would make the waves do all sorts of strange things as they went along here. But no, they don't do it, do they? They come along perfectly for miles and miles and miles. Straight, perfect lines. So hopefully somebody can take my idea here of this and do something really great graphically with this computerized, and I could probably then just put a little bit of that back up and talk about what they've done and how I inspired them to do it. And that'd be a fantastic way of going a bit forward with this idea, because truly this is just impossible for anyone to say this isn't right. You tell me how these lines can go miles and miles down a river completely, perfect if the river is ever so slightly curved. I mean, you've got to bring it down to the micro. In the micro world, the curve would really throw things off just as much as it would in the macro level that we sort of look at more. Perfect waves on a ball.
At Aspen Dental, smile for zero money down with zero worries. Plus pay zero interest if paid in full within 18 months.
Well, yes, the colour purple and the David, number 14, of course, none, fish. As we know, that yin-yang symbol, is it black or is it white? Well, no, it's purple and smiley. Yes, Colin Peterson and David Icke, very similar, out of the dish, and both like to smile. Of course, David for the moon, and it's a real moony look here we have, silvery moon, David, and here a tinge of purple, of course, just blending in together nicely, and just a coincidence, nothing to worry about, and have a pot of tea. And why not make it anthocyanin-rich Kenya? Kenya, of all places. McCartney, Obama, Kenya, purple tea. Here she is. You'll just look very right drinking this around the place. Dressed in a nice purple shirt, just like David, and having a nice bottle or cup of the old favourite purple tea in tea bag form here. It is the new rage, no doubt whatsoever. On hot off the press, we have a little story there from Indonesia, and this guy here, a survivor with his little light, like one of those little things that they had there a few years, I forget what they were called, though they've had the one eye, but here we are, boom, right there. And of course our purpley pink theme too. So, here we have the entrepreneur that seeks to disrupt the US tea market. Very interesting story indeed from a few years ago. But certainly a very intriguing idea. Kenya purple. Martin Kabakai. Kabbalah Mike. Yes, purple tea is a Christmas gift that gives back here. It's helping women in Kenya. Life Extension is introducing Kenyan purple tea crystals. Quite a bit of new news on purple is the new gold. Very interesting indeed. Exotic purple tea is in town. 22nd of November. Oh, look out, it's taking over the world one cup at a time. Sort of have a look at what sort of news we get for purple, and I'll tell you what, it's pretty interesting indeed. The purple line here, the purple lead, the county's purple cows, about the purple line here again, School Spring, Maryland. A few purple lines around, and these purple and orange skulls. Purple hearts, of course. But here, the purple air pollution kit. It's in the concentrations in the purple range. And Disney's purple ears. And the mysterious purple jellyfish. There we go, eh? It's an Australian story. Mostly this article is in News Limited and you have to pay to read their story. Isn't that good? Here looking like an embryo. Colour purple. Here's lifeguard. It's very strange. I've seen purple things before, but I'm not sure they're going to be that purple. I think somebody's been dyeing something here. And will the real jellyfish please stand up? Look, there's this one here, and then the one in the guy's hand here, as you can see, is like this. So, this, or that, or the baby look. What's going on here? Surely there'll be lots of pictures of these purple jellyfish. Sort of purple, blue bottle type thing, purple bottle. I've seen things like this with a tinge of purple. So, worried about the latest purple jellyfish. With the colour purple. Which one is it? This one? One of these here? It's in Norway's coast. So this one washes up on the beach, and there's this and this one. Yes, very mysterious indeed. Which jellyfish is it? Very interesting looking lifeguard here. That is a suit. I just blow it up to see exactly what was going on there. Yes, so the Garden of Pomegranates by Israel Regardie. But when you're at the ninth sphere, you are surrounded by the swirling purple fog. The purple haze of Jimi Hendrix fame. And T. Perret. Yes, three paths, not two, and transformation. Trinities and transformations. Magical and ritual use of perfumes by Iona Miller. Iona. And the initiation in Tifereth means transformation of personality after a period of trial and purification. Trial. Here's CC, Chick Cicero, near C's actually. CC, with Sandra Tabitha Cicero. CC, and to breath, transforming, with multiplicity, multiply, alright. Plenty of purple tea going down. And I'm sure we remember the beer for the Queen, for her purple rain. Seems like they're going to make a disclosure, they reckon, or so David Wilcox is saying anyway, that there's real buildings on Antarctica, I mean ancient buildings, something a la the pyramids. Now we know things they do. This could be on the cards, that's why I'm covering it, but I can't positively say yes or no. Anything out of David Wilcox, of course, you could take with a grain of salt. Now, I've done a lot of videos on Antarctica, and in those videos I showed how the stations are truly fantastic. The most fantastic thing you've ever seen is the Barati station. That everybody seems to have a station down there. I think even the Ukraine had a station down there. The British gave it to them, it said. So there's a fantastic nature to the whole idea, and the cruises I showed were real fantastic screening, fantastic. It was just, there were things wrong everywhere. So there's really, we don't know anything about down there, and Wilcox here will tell you he knows everything about it. I'll just play a little bit of what he says here.
And even before World War II, they were already using their U-boats, which are submarines, and going down there, and they found that there were caverns that are open to the sea, and you can literally sail right into these caverns and find these pockets underneath the ice in which there is land from the continental mass below the ice that's still visible. So they sail in there, they land on these land masses, and they walk around, and before too long, with their expeditionary teams, and of course they've got tanks and things like that, they can drive around, and they deploy soldiers and war material and everything, and what do they find? They find ruins of intelligently built structures in Antarctica. So,
Inflatable tanks. Why use fake inflatable tanks during a very real war? As long as the enemy think it is real, it is a great way to defend yourself. An elite force's specialty was tactical deception. They were not selected for their strength, but their acting skills and their creativity.
See, pictures I see of Antarctica like this really tell me that we need a lot more research into this, and by people who really know how to research. This here looks to me like I could make this in Australia at the snowfields, or New Zealand, or Canada, or the USA, or Europe, where you have, just looks to me like they want you to believe this is, 100, 200, 300, up to 500 feet, the scale of like looking down at the Grand Canyon or something. But really, if you look at it and just squint your eyes a bit and look at it, you'll see that this could just be about an 8-foot rise and just a few little prop bits here that they've set up in their own way. It could all just be a styrofoam model. I mean, that's what you get with nearly every image you ever see. And then you have these people like Wilcox. So you've got to really look at it deep here. Now, who is Wilcox and what's his position in all this? Well, he's selling the idea that this joint is real. Now, I know somebody who went there and has written a book. I don't know him very well, but I've bumped him and I've seen his book and I've talked to him and interviewed him just a little bit, checked out what he had to say. So there's something south of Australia possibly, because I don't know how they would have fooled him in flying, because you know which way a plane goes. It's pretty hard to fool, pretty astute, because I sort of said, he did go south, and he reckons he did. And so, I have to take his word for it, but he's written a book, and I suppose that means nothing that sort of bad, but he seemed very naive on the subject, a real dummy. So, and there's actually a bit of video of him somewhere from Channel 2 where they cover his book, so certainly he's part of the system somewhat, but he just seemed not the sort of person that was too involved anyway, other than he just, some idiot that they've got a lot of volunteering, funny people around, who will just do things because they think it's a good idea, don't forget. Not that many people are tuned into all the levels of thinking that you might, find at a certain section of YouTube, very small section of course. But interesting anyway that he reckons he flew from one base to another. But I just thought, gee, if there was just an island down south of New Zealand that is a bit snowy, that's enough to fool someone like him. And likewise over in South America. There seems to be those islands south of the tip there, and that's probably all there is. Because I've got other ideas for what happens here, and I think as you went south, you'd probably get an iced up sea, so you just couldn't end up too thick, you couldn't navigate. And just off in that, call it the edge direction, as it were, things just get ultimately hostile, and no one's ever been able to go there. That could be a big possibility, but they wanted to have a fairyland to fool the people with, and this is where it could be used now. It seems to be, with Kerry going there and that Russian guy going there, Mr. Krill, seems they're up to some sort of no good with the idea of Antarctica, because it reminds me of the space station or Apollo. Everything about it is just full of strange things, like this picture here. You really don't know what you're looking at, and I heavily suggest what I said. A model come, just something that, just take a photo of it. So you can see the scale, you can see that this is just very small, and this isn't that big if you look really carefully, but it gives you the illusion, and you find little illusions like that in the snowfields of Australia in winter.
So this has been going on for a long time. This started in 1939. And the Germans actually built a base there that they call New Berlin. And that base still is in existence. So this is something that has a great deal of history behind it. And I have been speaking to insiders for many years who are aware of ruins being found in Antarctica. What's different, and where I come to you today, is that we now know for a fact that the cabal is planning to announce officially on an open level the discovery of ruins in Antarctica. And they're going to do this once they are already in the midst of war crimes tribunals in which they are being outed, and their plans and their identities are being outed officially.
Well, anyone in the know knows the whole war crime tribunal is just part of the game too. Got to make people believe a whole lot of things, of course. Different layers and deception so that everyone's in on the whole swing of everything. You've got to have, the atrocities have got to be answered for with war crimes tribunals, just like we saw with the guy out of Bosnia, etc., or out of Yugoslavia. What sort of charade all this is, Nuremberg. I showed that in a video years ago, the case of the broken road. So people who've been watching my videos for a long time would know all these things. But if you're new to this stuff, so all we can say is it's all a lie. Everything, pretty much. Walk outside and have a look around, that's real, you're standing there. But other than that, don't trust the media for much at all. Really have a really good look at what you're listening to, especially people like David Wilcox. Well, his old Davina Wilcox. And as we can see, Julian Assange and David Wilcox have certainly the same look. Could be a country western artist too when you look at it, eh? But really reminds me of this. This one here could well be David. That is for certain. And I notice we've got the blue and white tea, a la Hampstead. Yes, very interesting indeed, I'd say. Chin wagging. There's chin wagging going on here. Translations. Benjamin Fulford. Fulford. Like she full, they were saying, to say fuller. Well, there you go, eh? This one's certainly been cracked here, hasn't it now? Here it is. This nut has certainly been cracked. They're not the same. We're not well aware here. No, not the same, but, we can see the similarities. One can ponder, where are they now? Where are they? Very interesting background. Let David tell you.
Right?
Right. Kobe did it.
You know, I went to college and I studied, I actually work on a suicide hotline, and we studied domestic violence, and it's called grandiose gestures of affection, and all abusers tend to do this.
So we can see old David's on that agenda too. That very agenda. And like most people on these agendas, they should be on the reverse agenda. Just how it is, eh? Now in that video he said 1939. Now, of course, 1939 you have your 13 and your 99, and here we have your 13 and your 99 as well. But the 99, of course, is 666. And each 9 there is 333. Double that, 666. 99 is the code for 666, you might say, or one code anyway. And 13, the tarot for death, of course. So 666 and death, the mystery of the earth grid. And David William Cox, and it's actually Wilcott. Interesting, they're saying he looks like Rasputin. Now, from what I know, Heard Island actually may exist. I've heard sailors talk about it. It's nowhere near as far down as what they call Antarctica, but it's close enough. I mean, it's down there in that area, you might say, on the way anyway. Now, if there were really bases in Antarctica, this would be a major base here, because this has got open ocean all the time type thing compared to what they show down there. This would be the major lifeline. I've built a whole village here. But this is pretty inhospitable. And there's nothing there. They go there and do little research projects, and I've found videos and things like that. Not all of these are Heard Island. This might be Heard Island here. See, it's covered, mossy sort of covered place, but look, it's quite extensive. That's enough to fool people for an Antarctica. But see, I'm not liking this here though. They might just put the icebergs in on a real photo. That's what it looks like, doesn't it, actually? They wouldn't be this free floating around Heard Island. There's big ocean with swell there. Destroy any iceberg in days. And as we know, they're not that big. They're only little ice, floating ice on the water. Yeah, I can't guarantee even this exists. Of course, this looks a bit weird. This one's got no snow, but I suppose if this is high, it might get snow on it.